How did you cope with that? I mean, that's you know, I have again read about you being amongst all these fascist men, but like ultra-fascist men in the Navy. How did you come out of that? And like going into that at 15, you could easily have been taken into that world and I mean, you know, when I met you, you didn't seem, you were a bit racist, but you didn't seem that. But it was the
90s. Come on,
it was fun.
The 90s. You know.
It was normal. No, you seemed very well adjusted.
It was
person.
quiet.
But how did you get through those years?
I don't know. It was just weird to be. I mean, I guess. I mean, I wasn't from the world that these people were from, and I think I would just do it. You know, like when you go out for a drink with some people and you might get on with them.
Yeah.
And you find them funny and they find you funny, and you go out for a drink with other bunch of people and you just think, I'm not funny anymore.
Yeah.
And I'd have 6 months of that where I'd just go, and occasionally I'd be on a trip with like some funny people who weren't horrible and weren't racist. They'd be tattooed. But there was just an edgy machismo to the whole world that never. So I think I got through certain trips by just making that whole thing of making people laugh. Because I was never the class clown at school. I was completely very invisible at school. Like nobody remembers me from school, you know. But then when I got there, I think it was when I first began to like, I can cope in this situation by making people laugh, you know.
And so was that, because how did you go from, you know, you went to Monte Carlo, you came back.
Yes.
What was the impetus that made you go, right, I'm going to go and try and write for the radio? What made you think you could do that, and why did you do that?
Well, I was made redundant. I did my weird, you know, thing in Monte Carlo for 6 months, and then and left that, and then had a vague idea of something creative, and I had no idea what that was. And so I went to London, and I stayed with my sister Charlie, and just did graphic design for a bit and worked for a company called Economic Plumbing and Roofing, just apologising for the terrible atrocities. I was like telesales, and I'd ring up and I'd go like, you know, hey, I'm calling from Economic Plumbing and Roofing. You're fucking plumber! You know, and it's a horrible, terrible, really scary job. And so did those jobs, you know, those jobs that people do, you know, and just those, and then I got, I guess, to, that's right, and I was staying with Charlie, and then one day, Charlie said, that's right, I tried to do acting, and I did a night school course, and this company called the Stanhope Theatre Company, and they'd put on like stage productions and things like that. And and it was just, it was a laugh, you know. But then anyway, Charlie said to me one day, hey, I've seen this in the back of Time Out, and it was an ad for Kit Hollaback's comedy improv workshop at the Comedy Store.
Wow.
And that was on Saturday afternoons, and I went there, and there was Paul Merton, Mike Myers, and Neil Malarkey, Julian Clary, and just all these amazing people, you know. It's like, and I'd just never seen anything like it. And I think I've talked to you about this before. That like, did you ever have the book From Fringe to Flying Circus as a kid? It's so weird how so many people, like, you know, from our generation, had that book as a kid. And I think did you say you read that book as a kid?
Yeah, I read that.
I thought, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, well, it was basically the blueprint of...
Yeah, it was like
so that was what made me
Yeah.
want to go... You know, I only wanted to go to Oxford because Michael Palin went to Oxford, and, you know, I thought maybe if I was in some dream scenario happened, I'd be able to do comedy there.
Yeah, and
but I didn't think it would happen. But so that was entirely the...
Yeah, this roadmap to, you know, to a comedy career.
Yeah.
And I think I just thought it was a work of fiction. I just read all this stuff, and this is how the Python started. This is how the Goodies started. This is like Beyond the Fringe, Dudley Moore, Peter... whole thing. And I just think no part of my 14-year-old self, it just didn't... It wasn't like I don't think I thought, I couldn't do that. It just didn't... It was like me thinking, I think I'll be a bus, you know. I saw a bus. I think I'll do that. It wouldn't occur to you to be a bus, you know, unless you're trying to escape a hippo, a rhino that's following you around. But so when I got to London, none of those things had occurred. I think it just seemed almost mythical to go into that career. Like some weird part, you know, I don't think I was so stupid that I thought actors weren't real. But anyway, so then I went to this comedy workshop, and then I saw that.
And so were those people... like doing the teaching, or they were doing?
They were like it was like kind of I was in a baby junior group that everyone could go to this workshop and take part.
Yeah.
But then there were evident brilliant people there who were very experienced too. They were the Comedy Store players, actually. That's what it was. And I think the idea was that if you were good enough from the junior people, that you might get invited into the Comedy Store players. But I was never really an improviser. And then, but the thing was that lots of those people were doing the stand-up circuit or the nascent.
Yeah,
is that a word?
Nascent is fine. Yeah.
And I think I didn't realise that the young ones had come from that world. I wasn't very well researched or whatever. Right. And so then I thought, all right, I'm going to do stand-up, and that's when I came up with my hilarious comedy character, Mr. Buxton.
Yeah.
Pummeled away at for 5 years, and then eventually got the message and stopped doing.
Well, we were just talking backstage about Edinburgh, and the last time you did Edinburgh, but I remember your shows in Edinburgh being like spectacular. I remember the Monsters in the Attic being like one of those. So you'd book out there was like a tiny room.
Yes.
Which I think we first did this morning, Richard Not Judy up there. We did a couple of the early shows out there. Right. And when it was now you go to the Pleasance and they found cupboards that you can do.
Oh God!
Really?
That'd be like
you wouldn't believe how many more venues. If you went back, every year you go back and they found another space within that building that is now a venue. And some of them are smaller than this
coffin or something like that.
Yeah, I mean really, some of them are just unbelievably small. But that was the smallest sort of venue, the Attic.
Yeah.
And you just sort of was it improvised or was it?
It was a one-off. It was a one-off right at the end because I used to go to. I was sharing a flat with, I think it was Would Have Got Muddy and Boothby Graffo.
Yeah.
And I used to come back drunk, as you do in Edinburgh, whilst we were all sharing and doing the show. We're doing the Avalon show. And then I'd come back and I'd start doing like monsters, like pterodactyls or raptors. And I'd stagger around and I'd do that kind of, so I'd try and do it now.
Yeah.
But it was like this sort of...
It was amazing.
Yeah, and I'd walk around the flat going like... Thank you. But I do that.
60 years old then, man. 60 years.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen. So I started to do that, and I was better at it. And they thought it was really funny, and then they persuaded me to put on a whole show
amazing,
of it.
but that's an amazing thing. Like, especially now when you go to Edinburgh, which I sort of don't want to do anymore. But I don't think that could happen. That someone would just let's put a show on at the end of the Fringe where I've come up with an idea during the Fringe. And that's what the Fringe should be. And I feel that happen. There was occasionally people did like a bonus show. I mean, I remember there's Summer Likes Yogurt Year, which was like a lot later than that. I'd done this show where there was a 20-minute routine about yogurt, and I said I'm going to do like an hour of that routine, right? 20 minutes. Yeah. So I did a whole night of that, but no one. But 6 people came to watch it, which made it kind of better in a way that I stretched this routine out for an hour. But it was very rare that anyone thought within it now it would be sort of.
I mean, that show wasn't really properly rehearsed or anything, because this weird thing happened at the end of it where like it was just this tiny room and everyone's really excited, and I'm going up and humping people, and I'm just doing horrible. And then at the end, and I was so nervous before the show that I'd eaten a huge bag of Edinburgh chips and sausage, and then at the last thing I did on the show, the last monster I did like a real like thing like this, and then the lights came down, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to throw... And I actually spontaneously vomited on the stage. And I crawled off the stage. And some genius lighting person brought the lights back up and I was gone and there was just a pile of vomit. And people thought it was like, this is incredible. This is like Stephen Burkoff or something. This is like some brilliant bit of, oh my God, how did he manufacture the vomit? And I think the noise it was... I tried to do it once again at Club Zarathustra, and it was like I couldn't throw up again. So I think I defecated instead.
Well. But it's sort of I remember those. It's so unbelievable. That's like 30 years ago.
Is it very different now though? The whole Fringe.
I mean, I don't. Feel. I mean, it's so expensive to go there for everyone. And we struggled. We all struggled to. None of us had any money at that stage, and we'd lose a couple of grand maybe to putting on a show. And you'd make it back because you'd get a job, or you know, it would sort of just about be worth it. But yeah, you couldn't do that now.
Yeah.
It costs so much to go, and it costs so much to go as a punter. That's just what I felt last year was just I couldn't really countenance.
How many have you done now?
I mean, I've not. There was a few years I didn't do, so I can't. It's like it's more than 25.
Wow.
But yeah, that might be it. I might have be done, but I feel like if I do another stand-up, I'll do when I'm 60 in 4 years' time, because I've done a
distant, unimaginable.
I mean, it felt like a long way away, but
yeah.
I'm more than halfway there from the last one. I did a show at 40 and 50, so I feel like it'd be a shame not to take that 60 show to Edinburgh at least for a bit. And I might do it. I might do it. I'm going to tour a show next year, but maybe I'll pop up for it. But literally, it's like £1,000 a day to stay. If you take your family,
wow,
it's like £1,000 a day to stay anywhere, really.
Oh, what? To
accommodation, like anything. Really,
as a performer or as an attendee?
Well, both, you know.
Oh, my God.
I mean, I spent, last year I was there for 10 days and got my mother-in-law a hotel room, and we were in a 2-bedroom flat, and it cost £10,000.
Oh, my God. And that's the accommodation. Is that on top of the show?
Yeah, top of everything else,
show,
yeah. So that's just the accommodation.
Oh, my God.
Which I don't know, did we share a flat in Edinburgh ever?
I don't think so.
We did, no.
I don't think so.
But when,
I saw somebody on Twitter accusing me of doing something.
Oh, yeah, breaking some, you weren't, it was Stuart.
No. I am not the unnamed comedian who was like...
That was me, Stuart. It's either me, Stuart, Chris Addison, Richard Thomas, maybe Dan Topolsky was there that year. Somebody punched in all the cupboards in the kitchen. It was Stuart Lee. It was definitely.
Have your glasses broken during this interview?
My glasses are broken during this, but they've broken before. I'm just trying to mend them as we go. But it's only my reading glasses. I can't. Problem is, I need my reading glasses to be able to see.
This is gold. This is like.
There's a screw there.
Yes.
I don't know if I have to screw it in or it'll just go.
Yes.
I think we'll just do that.
Yeah. That's comedy. That's actual comedy.
That is. Hey.